happen. We have to really escalate the noise we make so that we'll be heard.
Welcome to Gay USA. I'm Andy Hum.
You articulated that very well. I'm Ann Northrup.
And it is Women's History Month, and we have a good deal of news about women this week.
We do, of all sorts across the board. But of course, the war in Iran is the big headline. We'll chat about that in a minute, but here are other headlines for this week. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that confidentiality for trans students does not have to be observed.
Pete Hegseth has declared war on Scouting America. He took time out from the war in Iran to declare war on Scouting America over the inclusion of trans youth and all girls.
It's amazing how our emotions go back and forth depending on who's targeted. Like, we were angry at Scouting America for a long time. Now they're our biggest friends. All right, bad news this week from Kansas and Nevada and Florida.
NYU Hospital was ordered by New York's Attorney General to resume gender-affirming care for youth or else.
A heroic trans man has saved a stranger's baby from a frigid lake.
We're going to speak with an out LGBTQ candidate for Congress in a key swing district.
Yeah, we've been telling you about her. We will bring you up to date. Remembering 3 legendary lesbians who died in the last week.
And an LGBTQ-themed film was nominated for Oscar coming up on March 15th there.
And Rich, our director, I got a viewer note saying there's no sound on the transmission of the show at the moment. Maybe it's fixed now, who knows. Anyway, well, you may not want to hear talk about the war in Iran anyway.
Well, I mean, we happened to get an email about what Colonel Bree Fram said about it. She's a retired space officer, trans, thrown out for being trans, and I think it sums it up. She said, these strikes on Iran aren't America first. They're essentially America alone without our allies at our side. Operation Epic Fury is aptly named as what happens anytime President Trump doesn't get what he wants.
And is trying to cover up and distract from other things. But there was an even scarier analysis or report from an independent journalist, Jonathan Larson.
Yes.
Do you have that?
Yes, I do. Where is it? I've been posting about it. Basically, Larson is saying that the military establishment has been saying to the soldiers, this is Armageddon, this is the war which is going to bring Christianity back to the world and all this kind of stuff.
He reports that he has gotten reports from anonymous soldiers, or he's keeping them anonymous, in the field, who are reporting what their commanders are saying to them. And what the commanders are, you got it?
Yes, I do.
Please read it.
So a combat unit commander told his non-commissioned officers at a briefing, the war is part of God's plan and that President Trump was anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to Earth. Now,
Jesus' return to Earth.
These soldiers are complaining to something called the Military Religious Freedom Foundation. They're allowed to do so anonymously, but they've been getting 110 complaints about this kind of stuff because that's who's, in many cases, running these units and are not being taken to task for it.
Taken to task. This is a continuing theme in the United States Armed Forces. We have been talking about this for years. The U.S. Armed Forces, there was a whole thing at the Air Force Academy years ago that we talked about, where the people in charge are very focused on Christianity as the basis for everything they do. And they lecture their troops and they make them go to church regularly, and it's all about Christianity. And so now we're getting this terrifying report, I think, from the field, from multiple soldiers in the field saying we are being lectured to that all of this is on behalf of Jesus, and this is Armageddon, this is the coming of Jesus.
And Hegseth has been pushing all this Christianity at the Defense Department, running prayer services and everything. And the pastor that he brings in to run the prayer services is someone who doesn't believe that women should have the right to vote. Now, that used to be a deal breaker, kind of, in an administration. That no, don't associate with someone like that. It's a little out there.
But
not anymore.
Yeah. I was talking to someone the other day, and I just was trying to make conversation, and I said, what bad TV are you watching these days? And she said, well, I don't think I am, but I am watching The Handmaid's Tale. And I said, oh, my God, yes, you must watch the whole thing, because it is absolutely the blueprint for what's going on now. If you haven't seen The Handmaid's Tale, highly recommend it.
Okay.
But the other thing that strikes me about all this is first of all, we're being told we should be happy because now we don't have Iran throwing gay people off of the tops of buildings anymore.
There was a post by Peter Tatchell, a big gay activist, just unequivocally just saying, so great to be rid of the Ayatollah, but there's another Ayatollah. Yeah, it's like
in fact, the sun. But here's what kind of scares me. 25 years ago, 9/11, the planes are flown into the World Trade Center and the Pentagon and everything, and in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia or wherever, Iran, they're saying, death to America. And we are sort of dismissing it and not paying attention. And when people say, yes, this is retribution for what we've done to them, people say, oh, don't be ridiculous. We haven't done anything to them. This is them just being evil creatures. Well, how do you think they're going to react to this? And if you think this is all going to be confined to the Middle East, I have several bridges I'd like to sell you, and I just feel like the other shoe is going to drop at some point, and it's going to drop right here, and we have to watch out.
I mean, this isn't underestimating, of course, that there are a lot of great people in Iran who would rather not have a theocratic government.
Please.
But I mean, this is not the way to go about it.
We're not, we are bombing some of those lovely people. I have
had 150 schoolgirls.
Exactly.
Girls. As the administration that cares so much about girls.
And won't talk about it. We're investigating that. Hegseth this morning at his morning briefing, he's asked, what about he says, we're investigating that. But do you have some comment about the fact that you killed 160 girls? We're investigating that. He just kept repeating that.
All right. Well,
so
good luck to us all. We're going to need it.
Yep. Meanwhile,
the U.S. Supreme Court on Monday delivered a blow to transgender students in California. Now, this is a little complicated. California, has a law, sort of confidentiality for students who come out in school. I mean, you can't be forced to tell their parents if they do.
But some teachers who are religiously oriented brought a lawsuit against that and said, I want to be able to tell the parents this is bad for us to be concealing from the parents that their kids want to use different pronouns or different names or declare themselves a different gender. And so they brought a lawsuit, and at first they lost, and then that was appealed, and now the Supreme Court is saying, we find for the religious teachers, they have the right to inform the parents, or the parents have a right to be informed.
And I don't want to get too complicated, too in the weeds about it, but they have only lifted it respect to parents. The teachers, the opinion does not stay the Ninth Circuit's action as to the teacher class that was certified and presents different issues about that. And of course, they make no mention of the students, the LGBTQ students, the trans students, and what they're going through.
Well, the case is ongoing. This is a lifting of the stay or whatever.
And it's an indication that we'll lose the case when it gets to them.
Yeah, well, Elena Kagan in the minority on the decision said, isn't it interesting that they're so concerned about parents' rights in this case, but they rule against parents all the time who want to support their trans kids. That's
no freedom. No freedom.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, and I got, by the way, a lot of that from Art Leonard and his postings about this. Okay, well, let's go back to Pete Hegseth because he is, and this is unbelievable. He is on the warpath against Scouting America, and he made all these claims that he'd gotten them to agree to, cut their embrace of trans.
This is the former Boy Scouts who decided a few years ago, to admit girls into the Boy Scouts. Also, trans scouts are in this, and they changed the name last year or the end of the previous year to Scouting America to be more inclusive.
So should we listen to what Pete had to say?
Sure.
Scouting America. After 2012, however, the Boy Scouts lost their way, and a once great organization became gravely wounded. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, crept in. The name was changed to Scouting America. Girls were accepted. The focus on God as the ruler of the universe was watered down to include openness to humanism and earth-centered pagan religions. Scouting became an organization that no longer supported and celebrated boys. They even welcomed the destructive myth of gender fluidity and transgenderism to infiltrate their membership. Along the way, standards were lowered and merit destroyed in favor of an insidious, radical, woke ideology that is anti-America and anti-American. The result, membership cratered. Americans didn't want this. In 1970, 10 million boys participated in Boy Scouts. Currently, less than 1 million boys and girls participate.
Beyond the fact that it's full of lies, this is what he's doing while he's supposed to be paying attention.
I want to go through some of those lies. The highest enrollment in the Boy Scouts was 5 million, not 10 million. And enrollment cratered a few years ago around COVID. It had nothing to do with any of these other things. The girls were not admitted till 2019. I don't know what he's talking about with 2012. It may have had to do with 2013 when gay scouts were okayed. But all of the talk about God, we did find out
and a sectarian God and condemning all other religions. I mean, we have freedom of religion in this country and the freedom not to embrace religion.
A vast number of these scouting troops are hosted by Mormon churches around the country and by Defense Department facilities. But he's ready to he would like to get rid of them completely. Or take them back to being the Boy Scouts, dealing only with boys and teaching them manly things.
Which shows you why he is so crazy for this war in Iran, because it's a chance to go after Muslims, essentially, which he thinks is an evil religion, and he only thinks Christianity is the right thing.
Well, and his version of masculinity.
Oh, my God, which is frightening.
We have to get rid of these people.
Okay. Well, be careful what you say.
Electorally.
Yes. Well, I mean, he thinks that's going to help him win the midterms?
He is following his dear leader of Donald Trump.
I don't know. There was a big picture of this week, Trump screaming at him, but all right. So By the way, Trump says he's going to go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner now
Yes.
after boycotting
It'll
it.
be the greatest ever. It'll be a fantastic party.
So The Advocate, our gay magazine newspaper, reached out to the president of the White House Correspondents, a CBS News correspondent named Weijia Jiang.
Jiang.
Well, all right, to confirm whether Trump had been formally designated as an honoree and whether the association agrees with his characterization that correspondents now regard him as one of the greatest presidents in history. And they did not get
comment.
They did not get a response.
Well, you know how traditionally at that dinner there's always a comedian. That's we've followed that for many years. Well, no comedian this year. It's going to be a magician.
And I know you were worried that we weren't going to have the Kennedy Center honors this year because the Kennedy Center is closing. But Rick Grinnell, the gay sycophant who's the president of the center, says, oh, the show will go on, but it'll be called the Trump Kennedy Center Honors at another venue.
Yeah, we'll do it somewhere else.
All this renaming, by the way, is illegal.
Maybe they'll do it at the Department of Education, where they have hung on the outside wall a lovely big banner of Charlie Kirk, because he was such a fan of education. Never finished college, told people not to bother to go to college. Do we have that picture? We may have a picture problem.
Grotesque.
Yeah, well,
there he is, along with some,
Beecher.
Catherine Beecher, but
Beecher.
I mean, they have other ones, but
Yeah.
What's he doing up there? And of course, over at the Department of, what used to be called the Department of Justice, I don't know what they're calling it now since they're not dishing out justice, they have a banner of Trump.
Senator Bill Cassidy, Republican of Louisiana, has started an investigation, a little late, Bill, of Admiral Rachel Levine, who we remember for many years in the Biden administration as Undersecretary of Health and Human Services, because they think, of course, that she was too focused on trans care. So now, after all of that is over, they're back to investigating her because they have nothing better to do. The EEOC has overturned a 2015 decision. They say federal agencies can force trans people, federal agencies, to use the bathrooms that correspond to their birth sex. They made a gratuitous declaration in this decision that trans men are women, trans women are men. We'll see what happens when some trans man goes into the ladies' restroom.
Dr. Larry Mass, who is the guy who wrote the first articles about HIV and a gay activist, he wrote this week, just substitute the word Jew with all the stuff they're doing to trans.
Yep.
Again, we're not making complete comparisons. We're just saying this is who is being scapegoated, and scapegoating leads to violence. And there's a new report by Jill Collin Jefferson, who spent years looking at all the trans suicides that were reported throughout the South.
Yep.
And she said a lot of them were murders. And this happened with lynching. They would just say they weren't lynched, they killed themselves.
Right.
And she's done a thorough analysis of this and really found that a lot of these especially trans women, black women, were murdered. And turn your...
I will.
Okay.
And she took this evidence to prosecutors in the area, and they didn't want to hear about it. They're not going to investigate it.
Of course not.
Yeah.
All right. Let's...
A couple more things. The expanded global gag rules are taking effect this week. The $40 billion in foreign assistance has been barred from organizations around the world that mention abortion, gender ideology, or any DEI aspects. They're They're killing people around the world by refusing to work with organizations that say anything they don't like. They're just expanding their censorship.
And ISIS killing American citizens. So 3 cheers for lesbian singer-songwriter Brandi Carlile. She went to Minneapolis and held a concert that raised $600,000 for something called Advocates for Human Rights, which is for the families impacted by ISIS occupation of the city. She said she'll never forget it. Minnesota is so deeply inspiring to me and the whole country. I can't believe I got to sing with you and be with you last night.
And she had everybody on stage and the audience singing the song we showed people in the street singing, "It's Okay to Change Your Mind," which is the message to ICE people. It is discouraging to me, even though we've had all this talk about soldiers are supposed to not follow illegal orders. We haven't heard anything about anyone objecting to the illegal war in Iran or any of the ICE stuff here. It's just, they just follow orders and go along with it.
Lawless. Well,
and surrealism in everyday life. UN Security Council this week.
Yes.
Melania Trump presided for the United States over the UN Security Council.
Did she say anything more interesting than she said in her film? Because I know you saw it.
Yes.
I would not.
She did.
What did she say?
She said that she supports tolerance and empathy for all. No rigid thinkers who embrace prejudice and shun human dignity are acceptable to her.
Well, then I would say she's a very poor representative of the administration. I'm surprised she hasn't been relieved of her duties.
When a nation restricts thought, it restricts its own future.
God damn
Well,
it.
I'm out on the street waiting on First Avenue because there's a cavalcade of SUVs with lights and horns and cop cars and everything. And then I read this and I think, oh my God, it was Melania driving right by me. But she, the first, of course, presidential wife to preside over the Security Council.
Well, of course, in a serious role, Eleanor Roosevelt.
But she was appointed to be the ambassador. This is
No, she wasn't. Eleanor Roosevelt,
or whatever.
after her husband died, and this is in the 40s, late 40s. She is the co-chair of the thing that developed the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Yes, that's an official position.
Appointed by Truman.
Yeah.
An amazing job that she did.
Absolutely.
But that's serious stuff.
I agree. Melania was just wandering in there as the wife.
All right, let's go back to
crazy.
Let's go back to Kentucky. LGBTQ activists held a fairness rally in Frankfort, and we have a picture of it where they were joined there by, towards the left, Governor Andy Beshear.
Blue suit.
Who attended and gave a speech. I stood with you before, I stand with you now. He's a Democrat. I will stand with you in the future. I'm here today because in this role as governor, I made a pledge to fight for every single Kentuckian every single day. And that's the thing about this current administration. They don't fight for everybody. They fight for a very narrow group.
Only themselves. But it's interesting because Andy Beshear, I think, wants to run for president. There he is getting reelected in a essentially red state.
Comes from a family that has, done well. His father also in Kentucky, and he had one of those miserable opponents, that he was able to beat. If you need anything,
I've got some.
Okay, all right. In Maryland, a settlement was reached in the curriculum case that went before the Supreme Court. Mahmoud versus Taylor. Where they said parents need to be informed and everything if their kids are going to be if they have to listen to the words homosexuality or gay or anything like that. So these parents got a $1.5 million settlement out of this.
Because they were not informed or not allowed to.
Well, they won because they'd won their case, and this now parents have a right to opt out of things. I hope parents in Texas are going to be able to opt their kids out of classrooms where they have to post the 10 Commandments.
Well, then we get to trans youth care. And here in New York, there's been a big back and forth over whether to capitulate to the Trump administration about their demand that hospitals stop all care, that medical facilities of all kinds, or else they will lose their federal funding. And there's a lot of federal funding through Medicare and Medicaid and whatever. And so hospitals have been either going underground with their trans care, or more recently, NYU Langone here in New York City announced that they were ending all their appointments with trans youth. And the Attorney General, Tish James, our pal, who we respect so much.
And who stands up to Trump all the time.
Successfully.
She got him convicted of 34 felony counts.
Exactly.
No, so, that was Bragg.
Yeah. At any rate, well, she got him convicted on the real estate fraud stuff.
Yeah.
So she has now told NYU Langone, wait a minute, you cannot stop this care. That is discriminatory. We have a law against anti-trans discrimination in this state, and you are violating it if you single them out to stop their care. And the federal government may be huffing and puffing and threatening, but they have not officially done anything to stop the funding. They have called for a law. They have threatened an executive order. They've done whatever. But until they actually do something that you think you need to respond to, you are required to treat these kids. That's what's happening at NYU Langone and hospitals here in New York with trans care. Now, one of the other big stories from this week is Kansas, where the new law forcing trans people to not be able to use their current gender identity in their official papers has led to the state telling trans people that they have to surrender their driver's licenses and birth certificates that they have had updated with their current gender identity. The state is literally taking away their driver's licenses and birth certificates. And this has led to a real panic in the state as people are fleeing the state so that they can still drive a car or use a birth certificate. People are stepping in to help their neighbors, to offer to drive them around. It's just a terrible situation. The ACLU says this is cruel and craven threat to public safety, fosters fear, division, and paranoia. Up to, well, at least 1,500 people are affected in Kansas. The ACLU says this is an illegal denial of the existence of trans people. And of course, they threw in a bathroom ban for good measure. They just wedged that into the bill peremptorily without any real discussion. Again, this is about adhering to your birth sex. It is unbelievable how arrogant and condescending this is, in addition to it being dangerous and unconstitutional, that any group of legislators or officials would take it upon themselves to tell any group of people, you don't exist, you're inappropriate, you're illegal, we're not going to recognize you. And this was true for how governments treated LGBT people for a long time. We were not regarded as legitimate human beings. We were regarded as sick and liars. There's still a lot of people who treat us that way. And this is just the latest incarnation of that. And the divide between those in charge who think they have the right to make these decisions and the people they are harming along the way is just astonishing. You doing okay?
Nice to be back. Thank you.
That was Kansas.
Okay. Oh, God. That's just awful. Did you do Maryland? Oh,
You
we did
just-
that.
you did,
We did
Maryland.
that.
Yeah.
What about Florida?
Florida, go.
At the behest of the governor, the legislature is pressing forward on a bill that would strip funding from cities for diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. They're telling cities you can't do this. And people are worried. It's written so broadly. Obviously, they're worried that they're going to go after things like the Pulse Memorial, you know?
Yes, because it highlights a population that isn't everybody.
And
Black History Month.
Black History Month, St. Patrick's Day parades,
Yeah.
all those kinds of things. So
Yeah, when you start thinking about this more deeply and see how broad this really is, and of course the government will say, "Oh, don't worry, we won't do anything about that. We'll continue to discriminate. We'll only go after the people we don't like."
And then Arlington, Texas has stripped away protections from their human rights law on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity and race. I mean, wow. And in Texas, a federal appeals court has allowed a state law to go into effect, allowing the state to impose $10,000 fines on business owners that host drag shows in the presence of children.
Well, they've defined it fairly narrowly. They've pointed out that what they're talking about are sexually oriented performances. They have allowed for the possibility that there are drag shows that are not sexually oriented.
And opponents say it's so vague it could criminalize ballet, cheerleading, synchronized swimming, or theater.
There you go. By the way, the good news from Florida is that Orlando will hold its 35th annual Gay Days. That's back on in Celebration,
This is
Florida.
the Disney World thing?
Yeah, Celebration is right next to Disney in Orlando. That's going to be June 4th through 7th.
Nevada,
Go ahead.
a judge has let a ballot initiative move forward that would require school sports to only allow participants based on sex assigned at birth. This is the kind of thing that actually doesn't poll very well for us.
Iowa, the House there is debating legalizing conversion therapy and forbidding any locality to have non-discrimination laws.
USA Rugby will now ban trans women from being able to compete in the women's division, but they're going to permit any athlete registered as male to participate in the men's division. It's going into effect. They say they're following the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee, but wow. And they're following Trump's orders.
Did you see that terrible op-ed in the New York Times by Jesse Singal?
Yes.
Very anti-trans, lots of distortions and lies, including saying that the American Psychological Association had no longer supported trans people, and the American Psychological Association issued a statement, no, we are not backing off our support for trans youth. We think they're fine and deserve care.
Well, speaking of who deserves care, in Chicago by Lake Michigan, a 30-year-old trans man, comedian named Leo Cundiff, was standing there, and a baby in a stroller, it got, you know how windy it is there, it got blown into the lake, and the mother was paralyzed, didn't know what to do. Leo jumps into the frigid water. It is there for quite a while. This is an 8-month-old girl, and rescues her.
He evidently held her and the stroller up above the water until someone came along to pull them out and save them. It was just amazing. Yes, I've lived in Chicago. I know about the winds there. It could easily get blown right away.
And so he is trans and hopes that the moment emphasizes that trans people shouldn't have to say this, are just human beings, because all I did was a human act. We are human. We're the same as everyone else, and we don't deserve the hate that we've gotten.
Nice. In North Dakota, a doctor is stepping up to challenge the law criminalizing trans youth care. He or she, I think it's a he, I'm not sure, is going to go to court, is not standing still for this.
Should we get to Marnie?
Sure.
Well, go ahead.
Well, we have mentioned, now we've had as a guest on the show, and we've mentioned, I'm about to say,
Okay.
give me a chance. My friend, Marnie von Wilpert.
Oh.
Yeah. Who is really, her mother and I went to high school together. I've known the whole family since 1961. Yes. So Marnie is this very special person who's got out of college, joined the Peace Corps, went to work in Africa on AIDS issues, came back, went to law school, went to Mississippi to represent people with HIV. Eventually worked on Capitol Hill doing labor stuff, went back to her hometown of San Diego, prosecuted white-collar criminals, and ran for the city council. So she was going to run for the state senate in California this year, but then California did its redistricting, and she was living in a district that was reorganized, and it was Darrell Issa's district, who has been a monster Republican in Congress for many years. She was here last week to do a little event. We were there, and Andy talked to her a little on camera.
My name is Marnie von Wilpert. I am running for Congress in California's 48th district against terrible Republican Darrell Issa. Since Proposition 50 in California changed our congressional districts, this district was drawn to be one of the 5 seats in the nation. We must flip red to blue to gain back control of the House of Representatives and finally use Congress as a co-equal branch of government to stop Donald Trump. This is not just my fight. This is not just California's fight. This is America's fight. I am an open member of our LGBTQ community. I'm hoping to increase the ranks of the very few open LGBTQ elected House of Representatives members because our rights are on the line. So I'm very excited for this race. I'd love you to join the campaign. MarnieVonWilpert.com is my website. Please check it out and please join us.
Thank you. And I'll just ask to follow up. A lot of people look at Congress these days, a totally dysfunctional body. How are you going to change that?
So I'm going to make sure that I work not only to hold Donald Trump accountable and bring his administration in for congressional oversight and hearings, but also to do what the American people have been asking us to do. You know, in San Diego, I've been on the city council for 6 years now. I passed the first law in California banning untraceable ghost guns to make our communities safer. I started the first teacher down payment assistance program to make our communities more affordable. That's what I'm going to do in Congress, is fight for the American people and what they actually need and against Donald Trump's corruption and the way he's coming after our democracy. So we need to flip this seat. We need to take back the House of Representatives from red to blue, and please join me because we can win this fight.
Yeah, so pay attention to the districts that are really swing districts. This is a 50-50 district.
It is.
And with the anti-Trump sentiment, I think she's got a great chance. Of course, she has to get through the primary, but a great chance of winning.
I certainly hope you're right. That's what I'm working for, and I can just vouch for her being a great, authentic human being.
Of course, the Supreme Court stepped in New York when we tried to redraw districts that would have taken away the only Republican representing New York City, Maliatokas, I believe, a closet case. And
I was just about to say
yes,
that.
Well,
yeah.
I'll say
See, Marnie's out and Nicole is in.
Is in, and Nicole is with Trump.
Yeah.
And yet the Supreme Court, who lets everybody redraw their lines in Texas and in Missouri, all these other places,
in California,
says New York, where it's going to help a Democrat. No.
Well, they allowed the California redistricting.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But keep your eye on her and on these other districts, because Darrell Issa had like a 90% Republican district, and California carved it up, and now it's 50-50.
Right.
So
and
we're
let's go
hopeful.
to New York City. We've told you about the big flag controversy. I believe the rainbow flag is still flying at the Stonewall National Monument. And our friend Michael Petrelis has engineered cameras being put on these sites in case.
Working on it.
In case. Anyway, so, but J.W. Walker from Rise and Resist has proposed permanent poles for rainbow flags at the Stonewall National Monument. So this would be outside the gates at the entrance to the little park there, Christopher Park, so that the federal government couldn't do anything about that. And then all 3 flags, Progress flag and
original stripes, trans flag, Progress flag. I think it looks great.
Yep, it's a great idea. Let's make it happen.
Yep.
Mayor Mamdani and the city council.
All right. This guy in Michigan who, Mac Davis, who was caught trying to plan a massacre of LGBTQ people, has had his sentencing delayed. Not sure why.
Well, I mean, because they're saying to the judge, he's a victim of internalized homophobia, so he should not have to get a severe penalty. It's almost like the gay panic defense, but it's internalized homophobia.
Yeah.
Look,
well,
the guy
did he have the guns?
The guy
Yes.
has a lot of mental health issues, and he's not going to get any help in prison. But come on.
And then you have the guy in Pittsburgh, 18 years old, who's been luring and blackmailing teenage boys and making them, pretending to be a girl online and asking for naked pictures and then blackmailing them. That's no good either.
Just awful. He faces 67 counts.
His mother says, but he's the class president and he's on the volleyball team and he's an Eagle Scout.
He's never been in any trouble. Well, he's in a heap of trouble now.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about some estimable people we lost this week.
Okay.
Teresa de Lauretis, 87 years old. She coined the term queer theory, but then she...
Back in 1990, actually, Queer Theory, a working conference on gay and lesbian sexuality. She organized it there at the University of California, Santa Cruz, where she taught.
And then she said it got a little too convoluted, and she said it was too complicated and people should stop using it.
Right. By the way, all these women we're going to talk about, they have lengthy obituaries in the New York Times, and I'm going to use my gift linkages to put them in our email so that you can read all about them.
They're really fascinating and inspiring.
Sign up for our email at gayusatv.org.
Yes, our weekly email, sign up. Then there's Rose Lesniak. Oh, again, can't read my own writing. Lesniak, thank you. She was...
What wasn't she?
She was a wild New York City poet.
She was a poet who rescued children and trained dogs, and she had quite the life.
She was a detective in Miami.
Yes.
And
that's her with the dogs. We have there she is. There's young Rose. She's died at the age of 70.
Yep.
She was described as somebody who lit up the room whenever she came in. Being with her was like living on another planet. It was Planet Rose. So she used to go to poetry readings by the star poets of the day, like Allen Ginsberg and John Ashbery and John Giorno and other men, and they would heckle them, calling out their sexist tropes, sometimes making loud animal noises. The men weren't altogether offended, and they eventually all became friends.
Yes.
Which is nice.
Well, that's a very East Village kind of thing, and she was a very typical New York character. And 70, young.
I have to read this paragraph.
Okay.
To help pay the bills, she worked for, and this is back in the 70s, she worked for Majority Truckers, an all-female company that delivered gay male pornography to newsstands using old U.S. Postal Service trucks painted bright pink. I mean, it's just a hell of a story.
It's the good old days in New York City.
Yeah.
And then there's Anne Godoff, who died at 76. She was a legendary publisher and editor, and cute. She was an editor for Thomas Pynchon, Salman Rushdie, E.L. Doctorow, Alice Waters, Zadie Smith, Tom Brokaw, John Barrett, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Okay.
So very. And she worked at Random House, and then the publisher of Random House, or the owner of Random House, said, your division is the only one that's not making money, so you're fired. She was so, 20 of her authors left the house with her and went to her new place that she founded, Penguin Press.
She just finished editing 3 top bestsellers, including A Hymn to Life by Giselle Pellicot, the French woman who was raped so much through her husband.
Yes.
And a memoir, the memoir that Gavin Newsom did. She just did that. So this death must have been relatively sudden.
Really sad.
But so beloved in the field and so accomplished.
Yeah. So we're losing giants.
We sure are.
Yeah.
All right. International news?
Yes.
Rio de Janeiro, we told you about the assassination of Marielle Franco back in 2018. She was a black lesbian feminist councilwoman there, a big leader on all these issues. She and her driver were strafed with bullets in the car right after a rally for black women. And finally, the Supreme Court of Brazil has convicted the 2 brothers who served with her on the city council, who got this in motion. And they ordered the
commission,
hit. They ordered the hit by a military police officer, and also convicted was the police chief who tried to stifle the investigation.
Yeah.
So they finally got all these people.
They had to get Bolsonaro out of office to get to these people, to convict them, I'm sure.
Because he was behind it.
Again, a tragic loss of someone who was a heroic leader.
Okay.
And in Uganda, 2 women have been arrested for kissing in public and for having parties with women at home, gatherings of women at home.
In the United Kingdom,
they are facing a sentence of life in prison for this.
In the United Kingdom, they had a by-election, meaning there was an open parliament seat up in Manchester. And this was long been held by the Labour Party. And the fascist party thought, oh, we're going to win this seat now. Instead, the Green Party candidate won. She got 41, she's a plumber. She got 41% of the vote. They went after her like crazy, and she won this seat, and she's an unapologetic progressive. This is, of course, the party that is led by out-gay Zach Polanski, and the Green Party is rising as the progressive party, as Labour has become so, I mean, it's in power, quote unquote, but they're not doing anything for average people.
People seem to have contempt for them.
Yes, because they're not delivering for average people.
It's really, people in this country talk about the Republicans are hateful, but the Democrats don't do enough. And that's when you get caught with this vacuum.
Okay.
Also in India, in Mumbai, there was a really colorful pride parade. We put together a little montage of pictures from that. The parade had been postponed. They weren't sure they were going to have it, but they carried it off. It's the 16th annual Mumbai Pride. They held it on February 20th, and it looks like a lot of fun.
One of the activists said, "Pride is our bridge from the margins to the mainstream," and they're grateful to the city for its support, but the journey for full citizenship is far from over. We aren't just seeking tolerance, we are claiming our constitutional right to belong. And boy, did they have a good time there. It just looks like a great, great celebration.
It really does. I just loved all these pictures.
Yes. Okay. Also in the UK, a pioneering gay Anglican priest, Malcolm Johnson, has died at the age of 89, survived by his partner, he's pictured there with, for 57 years, Robert Wilson. Now, they were never able to get married in that church, but they were totally committed to each other. I mean, in the late 60s, this guy formed a social group for gay men, which met, and this is before Stonewall. And so, has always been a mover in the church and wrote a book called Diary of a Gay Priest, the tightrope walker, because he knows that all the issues are not resolved.
All right, AIDS news?
Yes. Well, God, states across the country now, up to 20 or so, are now considering measures to limit access to HIV drugs through ADAP, basically saying, we don't have enough money, we're either going to have to cut it, we're going to have to cut it, or we're going to have to change eligibility so that we can afford to do this.
So we've been telling you about Florida for a few weeks doing this, and they have begun cutting people off ADAP. The system has been an eligibility system where if you make a certain amount of money or less, you're eligible for AIDS drug assistance program, where the state will help you purchase HIV, anti-HIV drugs. But they say the limit is too high, we can't afford it, so we're going to lower it. So instead of people with an income up to X, it's going to be people with a much, 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 much lower income. And that's going to cut tens of thousands of people off of that eligibility for help with their HIV drugs.
Middle-class people, lower middle-class people especially, are going to be, their entire salary would have to go to pay for these drugs.
45,000 people affected in Florida. And they're also completely dropping coverage of Biktarvy, which is a once-a-day anti-HIV pill. And approximately 20 other states are in the process of doing this. ADAP supports 1/4 of people living with HIV in this country. A total of 1.2 million people in this country are living with HIV. So if a quarter of them are getting ADAP help, that's 300,000 people. And if most of them are going to lose their support for getting these drugs, that is chaos.
Okay, terrible.
Yeah.
We used to care a lot about who was the head of...
I'm sorry. It's because the Trump administration has refused to increase funding for the ADAP program.
Right.
They can spend billions for ICE or going into Iran, but when it comes to helping people who need medicine, forget it. It's just flat. We're not giving you any more
So much
money.
for America first.
Yeah.
We used to care a lot here at Gay USA about who was the head of the CDC and who was the Surgeon General. This Casey Means, who's up for Surgeon General, she's famous for saying that birth control is disrespect of life. And she refused to say whether she'd advise parents to immunize kids against measles. But the CDC has a new acting director who's the head of the NIH, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, who was famous for staunchly opposing COVID vaccines, but he had a meeting with the staff and he really took an approach with them that gave them some encouragement, extolling the importance of prevention efforts against HIV and endorsing immunizations. Now, he's saying these things, but as you say, show me the money, because you can't do these things without the dough.
And the minute you start talking like this, you get reprimanded by Bobby Kennedy Jr. or Trump or whomever to stop talking like that and stop acting like that.
And a tribute to Dr. Donald Kotler, who died this week. He was a New York gastroenterologist who specialized in HIV-related wasting, nutritional, and metabolic complications from the illness. He died at 78. This was in the early 80s when the epidemic was just getting started. He did it his whole life. He contributed a lot.
Yes, good guy.
Okay.
All right, entertainment news?
Yes.
Okay.
Barbara Hammer?
Sure. Barbara Hammer was an experimental filmmaker, lesbian, who, cute, keep that up for a minute, who died fairly recently. And she just won the Teddy Award at the Berlin Film Festival. What happened was someone made a documentary about her called Barbara Hammer, and that won the Teddy Award at the Berlin Film Festival.
Barbara
the Gay
Forever,
Award.
I think.
Yeah, Barbara Forever. Thank you.
There's not much LGBTQ at the Oscars this year, but A Friend of Dorothy is up for Best Live Action Short on March 15th, and it stars two UK national treasures, lesbian Miriam Margolyes and gay Sir Stephen Fry, along with an up-and-coming actor, young Alastair Nwach, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do your last name, in a sweet tale of an unlikely friendship. Now, we're gonna link to this, but it's only up for free until March the 5th, which is tomorrow.
Is it today?
So check it. All right. And Brandi Carlile has officially signed a $10 million deal with Netflix for a 7-episode limited series chronicling her remarkable career and untold story behind her success.
I was watching, as I was doing my research last night on this stuff, I was watching a few YouTube videos in the background, and I came across one that she did as a duet with the one of the daughters of Tim McGraw and Faith Hill. And the daughter, I knew nothing about the daughters, but this one just had the most spectacular voice. And the two of them, Brandy and the McGraw girl, were just unbelievable. They sounded so great together. So check that out on YouTube.
All right, you still have time to see Jonathan Groff in Just in Time, where he plays Bobby Darin. It's the Bobby Darin musical. It's terrific. He is going over to England to make his debut at the Royal Shakespeare Company in an all-male production of As You Like It, where he will play Rosalind, directed by outgay Daniel Evans. That's going to be in September and November and October, I guess. Did you watch Connor's story on
I did, and
SNL? Now, he's not out. He is not out about his sexuality, but this all seemed pretty gay to me. But he did in the opening monologue bring on first he brought on the two of the men's hockey winners, and that got a nice response. Then he brings the women in, and the crowd goes absolutely wild.
Yeah, I like that. And he turned to them with a question, and they said, it was supposed to be just us on this show tonight, but we decided to invite the guys. And yes, we saw your show, Heated Rivalry, because he had asked the guys if they'd seen it, and they said, well, no, we haven't seen it. I thought,
hockey?
Idiots. No, it's the hockey players.
No, I know.
Because, again, these straight men are reluctant to admit they watched it. By the way, they go to the White House to see Trump and the State of the Union, and he sits them down in the dining room and feeds them McDonald's. McDonald's.
Like that's what they want.
That's what he does to every guest.
It's abusive.
And meanwhile, the women...
They used to serve nice meals there. Not that I've ever been.
The women, when they were in Milan, were taken to lunch by Stanley Tucci.
Yes.
At a lovely Italian lunch. And Amber Glenn is a finalist for the Olympic Fair Play Award for sportsmanship, integrity, and solidarity. Good for her.
She shielded that Japanese skater
after
she had a fall or something like that. Whatever. I mentioned that exhibit on the gay Harlem Renaissance at the New York Historical.
Yeah.
And I went to it. It is absolutely terrific, but again, it's only there through March 8th. So check it out. We have pictures there. Did you show them? The poster for the Hamilton Lodge, which I'd never heard of, which was a big gay venue, and the role of Ethel Waters at the Cotton Club.
Wow. In Mumbai, there was a really colorful pride parade. We put together a little montage of pictures from that. Well, that's it for us this week. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Thanks a lot.